I got some good news and I got some bad news. The good news, I am the bad news. And in this video, we installed some 6.5-inch speakers that I got from the Junkyard in the doors of the Slapbox, which is my 2011 Scion XB car audio build. It's not a race car, it's a base car. First, we're gonna go over how to test speakers before installing them, and then I'm gonna show you the process to install them in my car specifically. Now, I know you're probably wondering why I would install Junkyard speakers in a car audio build that's supposed to be like nice. I was just at the Junkyard looking for some other stuff, and I just happened to find some. You see that? These are some Rockfords. And I've been wanting to upgrade my stock door speakers for a minute now. Like, I have all of this stuff you see behind me, but I'm still on the stock door speakers. That's like cringy just saying it out loud. But yeah, so I've been wanting to upgrade them anyway, and I just happened to find some Rockford Fosgate P1s in very nice condition. I figured, yeah, that's a go. These are old school, but still a good speaker. And at the Junkyard, the stock door speakers would have cost the same price as these Rockford Fosgate speakers. $13? Get out of here. That's a done deal. So granted, these are Pioneers. For being a stock speaker, I was actually pretty surprised, especially considering how cheap everything else is in this car. If you've seen my sound deadening videos, and if you have an XB, you already know these were terribly noisy from the factory. At least they had some good speakers in them, for whatever that's worth. Anyway, that's a very long way to say the main 3 reasons I really love the Junkyard is, 1, aftermarket parts cost the same as stock parts. So if you find performance parts or something that's better than the stock version, it's gonna cost the same as the stock version would, and either way, it's gonna be super discounted. The second reason I love Junkyard is that most of them have a return policy. LKQ's return policy is 90 days that you can return it for any reason. And the cool thing about their return policy is if you opt out of it, you actually save a few bucks, but you just have to keep it. The third reason is just fun. I just like the treasure hunting aspect and seeing the different cars, especially the ones that people loved, you know, the ones that were like somebody else's build at one point. It's just kind of inspiring and you can get some ideas. This doesn't even go on my car, but I'm gonna figure out a way to put it there. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just fun. If you've never been to a Junkyard, go to the Junkyard. Back to point number 2 though, about them having a return policy. Since they have a return policy, it's really important that you test your parts. So first we're gonna go over how to test the speakers without having to actually install them, and then how to install, which is gonna be a little bit different than your car maybe, but probably pretty similar. There's one thing that Scion did that kind of drove me a little bit crazy, but to be honest, your car probably did some other stupid bullshit too from the factory, so it might make sense. That's just how they build cars now, because they don't want you messing with it. Paid for the whole car, messing with the whole car. Anyway, testing your parts first. To test the speakers without actually installing them, you'll just need to make a jumper between the stock connector and the speaker you're testing. So you'll disconnect the stock speaker. You'll see inside there's 2 pins. You're just gonna basically make a jumper with 2 wires that are gonna touch those 2 pins, and on the other end to the terminals on the speaker. As long as they're not touching anywhere, as long as like everything is just a straight connection, then you should hear something out of the speaker. So they work, but they don't work good. Don't bump it hard, but like, you know, give it a little bit of juice and just make sure that like you can hear all the details without any distortion. And see if when the kick hits, if it distorts a little bit. Listen to the vocals and listen to make sure that the vocal's not breaking up at any point. With these Rockfords, unfortunately, they didn't cut it. I'm sure you could probably hear when it hits those kicks, it just distorts. So these are no good. Try the other one. So this one's even worse. You can kind of hear in the example, but like listening to them in person, distortion all the way. So both of these, no bueno. The thing is, when I was at the Junkyard yesterday, I got some Pioneers. So let's see if these work. With the Pioneers, the TS series, I think, they're supposed to be just like a step up from stock. 4 ohm RMS range is 2 to 50 watts. They're not nothing crazy, but I found them and they ended up working.
84 sitting on the Maybach, niggas smoking gag, got me feeling like salt man, and I'm dripping too much salt with a toilet, you ain't getting money.
This sounds a lot better. The other one?
Know a couple shoes like Manu, going Super Saiyan, feeling like Goku, get to the bands, doing what I wanna do, young go school.
Both of these work, that's convenient. So I'm gonna install these. But first, obviously, we have to take out the stock speakers. All right. Scion really did not make it easy. The speakers are actually riveted to the door. So like, you can't just like unscrew them and take them out. You have to actually drill out the rivet, and then basically like there's no turning back. Which for me, I'm down with some no turning back shit. Like whatever, once I decide it's happening, it's happening. Keep that in mind. There's no turning back unless you put some threaded inserts in the door or you use like a bolt and a nut. These were Pioneers from the factory. So like, wow. I just noticed. I literally just noticed right now. Like, you just saw me notice it live. So these speakers that I just put in the door are the TSA series. These speakers that I pulled out of the Scion from factory. Look at this shit. Can you see that? Can you see what I'm looking at right here? What's that say? What does that say? It's not the TSA, but what's that say? Fucking TS series. So these are literally like a 0.5 millimeter step up. But yeah, so after removing the factory speakers, I kind of realized that I wouldn't be able to reuse the mounting bracket. I just noticed I might need some adapters because this mounting bracket and the speaker, it's one piece. There's enough for the screws to grab, but like not enough for them to grab nicely. You could take it out, but you'd have to permanently ruin it and like, brrr, you know what I mean? Like you have to like drill it out. It would be a whole fucking thing. So instead of doing that, I decided that I would hold on to them because one, they're not actually bad speakers. They're stock speakers, but like they're not actually bad speakers. And I could definitely see myself using those for something in the future. And then I felt like it would just be easier to make an adapter than it would be to drill out these and then try to adapt these to the speakers. To make my adapter, I just took a piece of MDF. I literally just took the stock speakers and the bracket and just traced the shape on the MDF and then cut that out, put the holes in the same spot, and then did my best to cut out a suitable speaker hole. And honestly, I'm pretty happy with my adapters. Boom. I will say that you shouldn't use MDF because it's susceptible to moisture and all that, but like that's what I got right now, so that's what I'm gonna have to use. Unless the actual wood itself is sealed in some kind of way, then you're fine. So eventually I do plan on putting some plastic ones, but that's eventually. Right now, MDF is working and I'm not really tripping about it. Anyway though, once I had usable adapters, I wanted to sound deaden the parts of the door that I didn't have access to before I drilled out the stock speakers. So I basically just grabbed some Noiko 80 mil, got my roller, alcohol, and a rag, and basically just put one large piece in the areas of the door that I didn't have access to prior. With the adapters made and the sound deadening laid, it was time to wire them up. You like that. Since these aren't gonna be on an amp, and I don't even plan on putting them on an amp when I do get a mids and highs amp, we're just gonna wire them into the stock speakers. I really wanted to use the stock connector, but it's like built in, and that would have been way more work than I was willing to do, and I honestly just didn't feel like it was worth it to mess this one up. Not a bad speaker. I could mess it up in some other way later. So I basically just cut the connector off, boom, and soldered some wires onto the speakers, and then soldered those wires into the stock wiring harness. After a quick test to make sure everything worked,
From Cape Town to Accra to Lagos, so much beauty my eyes behold, so much is cool they have never told.
I was ready to reinstall everything and give it the official final after test to hear how it sounds. So I thought it'd be a good idea to get a couple before tests just so we know if we even made a good improvement. Where we at? We'll stay at 13. And that's pretty much it. Like, since I'm not pushing them on an amp, I'm underpowering them right now, so I'm not necessarily fairly testing them. However, judging them against the stock speakers in the current configuration, you know, with the stock power and everything like that, they honestly perform pretty much the same, which is no wonder now that I know that I installed the aftermarket version of my stock speakers, so that's okay, whatever. I pretty much just installed them hoping that I could maintain clarity at higher volumes, and I kind of got that. To be honest, it's not a whole lot of difference, but you know, whatever. I'm not super upset. I am pretty interested to hear what they do on some power, but to be honest, when I get the amp for my doors, I'm actually just gonna move the Pioneers to the back doors anyway. I'm gonna have a different set of speakers and tweeters, so those speakers won't even end up receiving it. However, I might end up hooking them up to an amp if the opportunity presents itself. I'm not gonna put any energy into looking for an amp for them, but should I happen to come across one, or one should happen to come across me, then hey, I might hook them up just to see what they do. You know what I mean? They only handle 50 RMS. I think a really good takeaway out of this is to do your research. I should just looked up what speakers my car had from the factory. It's the same damn speaker. But for the price, I ain't mad. Like, I'll do it again. These are just decoration now. I'm just gonna put them up on the wall or something. Unless somebody wants to pick up some not very good functioning Rockford P1s, 6.5. Hit the comments if you're interested. Coming up, I finished the back seat delete. That's why you can see it's like fancy now. I painted some of my girlfriend's dash pieces. We final wrapped her front bumper that we also got from the junkyard. We sound deadened my homie Victor's entire floor in his Mazda 3, so now that thing is just solid, just completely sound deadened, 100% on the inside. There's some pretty cool stuff coming, so make sure you subscribe and get notified when it drops so you don't miss out. The best way to not miss out is follow me on Instagram and TikTok at DaBadNewz, DaBadNewz. I post Instagram stories like as I'm doing the work, so you can watch practically live. And on TikTok, I actually have the ability to go live, so there's that. That being said, if you make the jump from YouTube to Instagram or TikTok, say what's up when you follow. Anyway, thanks for watching. If this is your first time seeing one of my videos, I want to thank you for taking a chance on a channel that you've never seen. Thank you for taking that chance, and I really hope to see you on the next one. Also, of course, a special shout out to the return viewers. viewers. I appreciate the people who come back time and time again. Big shout outs to you guys. That means a lot to me. There's people out there that are actually f***ing with my content. You guys really motivate me to keep doing this. I put these at the end of my videos because I honestly do mean it. If you made it this far, big shout out to you. Let's keep the conversation going in the comments. If not in the comments, Instagram or TikTok. And I think that about does it for this one. So obviously the bad news first. Skirt! Something like that, right?
Dang, they got it already.
What's that, Chulito?
Yeah. Or in other words,
Not a race car, it's a base car.